Hi Year 6, I hope you're all okay. It's Mrs Withers here with our first topic lesson for the spring term. So our geography and history topic this term is World War II. So before we continue with our video, I want you to pause the video and have a little think about this question here. When was World War II? And what do you already know about World War II? So pause the video, have a little think, take some reflection time. Okay, well, World War II then was from 1939 to 1945. You might also know lots of information already about World War II, or you might be sitting there thinking, actually, I don't know anything at all yet, which is absolutely fine. It means you get to learn lots of new information throughout this topic. Today then we're focusing on our first geography inquiry question, and that question is, who were the participants of the Second World War? So today we're going to be looking at which countries were involved in World War II. So again, in a moment I'm going to ask you to pause the video and think, do you know what these countries are called and where they are located in the world? So we've got some flags here. Got 7 different flags. Do you know the names of the countries that those flags represent? And do you know specifically where those countries are in the world? So pause the video now and have a go at naming the flags. Okay then, hopefully you've had a go at attempting this. We'll go through each flag at a time then. So the first flag was Japan. Japan is in Asia. Okay, so that's what we're looking for the first one. The second flag, I'm going to go down here. The next flag, that is the French flag. Hopefully you recognise that one, perhaps from the front of your French books and things like that. France is in Europe. The next one is the American flag with the stars and the stripes. Also known as the USA, located in North America. The next flag down here, you might not recognise this flag because it's not a flag that we have today, but this is the flag for Nazi Germany, which was the flag that they had at the time of the Second World War. The next flag, and Germany is located in Europe. The next flag is the Italian flag, or the flag of Italy, again located in Europe. We have the Union Jack, the flag of Great Britain, and lastly we have the flag of the USSR, which is a country now that we refer to as Russia, as well as some other countries as well that neighbour Russia. But we'll go into more detail in that later in the lesson. So all of these countries were involved in the Second World War, but they are just some of the countries that were involved. There were actually over 50 countries involved in the Second World War. What I would like you to do now then, Year 6, is again, I'd like you to pause this video and in the lesson document where you found the link to this video, there is a link to a video that I want you to watch. Okay, a video within a video. So I want you to pause this video and go away and watch this BBC Key Stage 2 geography video for me. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to watch that video, and hopefully you found it interesting too. So in that video it explains the different countries that were involved in the Second World War, and which countries made up the Axis powers and which countries made up the Allies. Now you might have heard the word ally before. Ally means friend. If countries are allies, they are friends. So these were the main countries that made up the Allies. We have got France, which at the time was ruled by Charles de Gaulle, who was a French general and led the French army in the fight against Germany. We have got the USSR. Remember, we've said that is now largely known as Russia. We have got the United States, and we have got Great Britain. Okay, with the Prime Minister there of Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister at the start of World War II for Great Britain. So those countries were friends, they were the allies, and they were essentially on the same side. Against the Allies, so if you like, on the other side, were the Axis powers. So these were the countries of Nazi Germany, Japan, and Italy. So Nazi Germany at the time was ruled by Adolf Hitler, who's a German dictator, who was actually responsible for the start of World War II. And we'll be learning a lot more about Hitler in our coming lessons. So these countries, Japan, Italy, and Germany, were against the Allies, if you like. They're two different sides of the war. But as I said, they were not the only countries involved, and now we've got some information here that tells us a little bit more about some of the other countries involved. So first of all, I'm just going to read that information to you. At the start of World War II, the Allies were the United Kingdom, France and Poland. These nations had made a pact to stand together against Hitler and the Axis powers. The Allies were then soon joined by the British Commonwealth, South Africa, Canada, Australia and New Zealand, and by the Soviet Union and the United States of America, and also China. Other allies included India, the Netherlands and Yugoslavia. In 1942, the Allies were officially named the United Nations. The Axis powers were Germany, Japan and Italy, who made a pact to stand together in opposition to the Allies. So we've got those two different sides there. So the Allies I've highlighted there for you in yellow, and the Axis powers I've highlighted for you in green. So what I want you to do now, this is your first little task of this video, is I want you to have a go at using digital mapping, probably, unless you are lucky enough to have an atlas in your house. But I want you to use maps to locate these countries and find out where they are in the world. There are two countries here that are listed that might cause you a little problem when you're trying to find them, but what I would like you to do is try to find all those countries, and if you are struggling, come back and watch the next part of the video where I will explain about those two countries that might cause you a little problem. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple of websites that you could use to do this task. So the first one is Google Maps. Okay, so I've got Google Maps loaded up at the moment on my screen, and I'm going to take the first country, well, the United Kingdom. We know where that is, but we can put it in Google Maps anyway. Okay, and Google Maps, now when you type in a country, it likes to circle the border of that country all in red for you. So I know that all of this is the United Kingdom. Okay, so I have located the United Kingdom. What you could then do, and I think this is really nice, you could either print off the world map that is in this lesson folder, or if you don't have a printer, don't worry, I have found this nice little world map on the internet that allows you to colour in the countries, so by just clicking on them. There's some controls down here that lets you change the colours, so I would suggest if you're doing this that you colour in all the allies in one colour and the Axis powers in a separate colour. Okay, so United Kingdom, I'm going to click on that and it just colours it in red for me. Then I would go back to Google Maps and look for my next country, and my next country is France. So I'm going to use Google Maps and I'm going to search for France. Okay, again, see how it's given it a red border around the edge of France there? So I know that that's where France is. It's next to Belgium and next to Spain. Okay, so I'm going to go and try and find that either on my printed map, which I'm colouring in, or using this website to find France here. And again, just click on it and I can colour it in. Okay, so what I would like you to do then, year 6, as I said, first task of the video, pause the video and locate each of the countries that are on the screen. Okay, remember there's two that you might not be able to find, but I will give you some hints to those in a moment. Okay, the two countries then that you may have struggled to find when you were doing the mapping activity then, the first one was Yugoslavia. Okay, Yugoslavia is now is no more. Okay, it's no longer known as Yugoslavia. It's now known as the countries of Serbia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Kosovo and Macedonia. Okay, so you might need to go back to your map now and click on each of those countries individually and colour those in. Okay, so it's quite a big area there that you'll need to colour in. That is the former Yugoslavia. The other country that you might not have been able to find was the Soviet Union. So if you were typing in the Soviet Union, perhaps nothing came up for you. So the Soviet Union is now largely, the main country is Russia, but it's also all of these other countries as well. The Ukraine, Belarus, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, I don't even know how to say this one, Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. Okay, so again, you might need to go back to your map and make sure you've got all of those little countries coloured in as well. Okay, make sure you've found all of those. Okay, hopefully now you've had a little go at either colouring in a printed version of the map or perhaps colouring in that online version that I showed you. And I want you to have a think about these questions then. How many continents do the countries that you've coloured in span? Okay, how many continents do they cover? And secondly, does that give you a bit of a hint then as to why this war was called the Second World War? Pause the video and have a little think about those questions. Okay, hopefully you spotted just those countries that I've given you to colour in. They span 5 continents. The only ones that we didn't colour them were South America and Antarctica. So we had the USA in North America. We had lots of countries in Europe, didn't we? France, United Kingdom, Italy. We had some countries in Africa. We had South Africa. We had countries in Asia. We had Japan, didn't we? And also in Australia, we had Australia and New Zealand. So they covered 5 continents. Which gives you a bit of a hint as to why this war was called the Second World War. It covered most of the world. Okay, the final thing that I'm going to say to you today then, Year 6, is your little task to go away and have a go at doing once you've watched this video then. We want you to present your learning from today. So you might choose to do that as a double page spread in your book, or you might choose to present your learning using a PowerPoint or a publisher document. We don't mind how you do it, but we would like you to have a go at presenting your learning. So underneath that blue box there, this is what we were going to do if we were in school doing this. So I had already prepared this for us to do. So we've got here, you can see my title is Who Were the Participants of the Second World War? I've got a map where I've coloured in the Axis powers and the Allies in different colours. I had gone for red for the Allies and blue for the Axis powers. And I've listed the countries then. I've listed the allies and I've listed the Axis powers. And I've included some little flags as well. Okay, I realise at home lots of you don't have a printer. That's fine, you don't need to print anything off today. Okay, all we want you to do is your however you choose to present your learning, it must include a list of the countries that made up the Allies. Okay, that's important. Okay, and we also want a list of the countries that made up the Axis powers. We want a title, okay, a nice title, even if you haven't got a printer or anything like that, or even if you haven't got any coloured pencil crayons, I'm sure you can still do a really nice, well-presented title. So your title will be the same as mine. Who were the participants of the Second World War? You're going to want some subtitles, the Axis powers and the Allies, and I want 2 lists. Okay, aside from that, you can get as creative as you like. So you might also choose to include, you might also print off the world map, and you may have already done so and coloured it in as you've been watching the video. You might choose to include a snipped out version. If you use snipping tool on your computer, you might choose to include a snipped out version of that world map that you've been creating there. Especially if you're going to use a PowerPoint or publisher document to present your work. You might choose to include flags of the countries, like I have done, And again, those could be printed if you've got a printer, or they could be drawn if you haven't. They could be drawn and coloured in. And you might choose to include pictures of the leaders of some of those countries. For example, I've just included there a picture of Adolf Hitler. Okay, so what we want from everybody is a well-presented piece of work that demonstrates which countries were the Axis powers and which countries were the Allies. How you choose to do that, we're giving you a little bit of freedom. You can share your work with us from this lesson in the Share Your Work folder. You will find a geography folder within that folder for you to put your work in there and showcase your learning. All right then, Year 6, I hope you've enjoyed that lesson, and I hope you enjoy creating either a double page spread or some other way to showcase your learning from this lesson. Bye.